the sky. Easy today, taking a rest. It's been a pretty busy week for us here. So how's it going in your guys' area? You guys had any rain lately? It says, well, looks like my comments won't post again on my Feeder Diaries account. Never hurts to have a backup. How you guys doing? I was hoping more people can get on tonight. Yeah, I was Old Country Ranches. We had rain most of the day today. Interesting. And we didn't have any rain here. It looked like it might rain, but it didn't. And then I was walked out the potato patch, and my one patch that's planted on poor soil, which doesn't have a lot of manure in it. I have 5 different patches of potatoes, and one of my patches didn't have any manure in it. And there's lots and lots of potato bugs on that patch. And the other patches with manure, 3 of them have no potato bugs, and one's had a few. But it's interesting how the plants that were really healthy didn't get as many potato bugs as the unhealthy ones. Yeah, I got coffee tonight. It's a little warm. Well, I was thinking, I would really like to see and encourage people to become free from the system. I mean, we're living today in a world that's, I would say, like I had Hurricane Prepper say, it's like living in an incubator. Everything's so easy to get, available. We don't have to produce much. Just work a job, make money, and buy stuff. And I feel like in the last 100 years, it's been such a change in society. And it makes one feel, one can't but help feel the danger that we're in with this modern system being centrally controlled and also centrally produced. And I really want to encourage all the small farmers out there, keep growing your own food. It's healthier, and it makes one more independent. That's the best way we can live free, is to grow our own food and produce our own goods. And my goal is to help others do that. I hope in the future that I can produce seed for people who need it. Seed saving is an important part of our farming experience. And I started saving seeds when I was 12 and 13 years old. So it's been a lot of years. And this is the first year I'm actually getting cabbage seed, I think. I don't want to talk too fast because I see that one of my cabbage plants just got knocked over and broke, and then I have another one that's wilted a bit. I've only got one plant that's got good seed on it still, so we'll hope that one stays alive. Looks like the rutabaga. The rutabaga is so heavy in seed, it's almost touching the ground. I'll show you guys real quick. That back plant's the rutabaga. That thing's got so many seeds on it, it's touching the ground. This one here's the late flat Dutch cabbage. It's doing pretty good, but the cats, they're messing around. They hurt that one plant pretty bad. I don't know if it's going to make it or not, and they knocked this one over. Cats like to play in here for some reason. I got my some onions in here, and I left the oats and some wheat. Yeah, so we're hoping for seed this year from cabbage. That'll be our first. Sorry, I just bumped my head on that shelf. It'll be our first experience of having cabbage seed. Yeah, it's a next evening. I don't notice it. Are you getting an echo? I can't tell. My site looks clear and it looks sharp, but I don't know how your guys' site is. It seems like sometimes on my end it seems nice and crisp, but I notice when I rewatch it sometimes it's blurry. So anybody got any questions or anything to talk about we want to talk about tonight? I can try to how you doing? There's David. Your hat doesn't fit me, David. I can't wear your hat. My head's too big. Well, our taxes came. We had a increase in our taxes despite the house burning down, so that was kind of it seems like every year they go up a little bit. That happens if you've been here. We get our taxes twice a year. I think it's right around the first of the year, and then after around the 4th of July. So it is it's too hasty for you, David. But can you brush off, okay? Please. It's too hasty. So I'm on for business coffee with today, okay? I was sorry guys, I just had to get a little book ahead. Okay, so on the seed, I'm not quite sure how I'll do it. I'm hoping to start a type of co-op where people can possibly trade seeds and help each other. I was going to go through some tips I'd written down over the years on farming tips. And over the years, I keep this book. It's my farm book, and I write down all the little tips I find. So I thought maybe just to start with, unless someone got a question, I'll start go over a few of the things. So in your tools, oftentimes when you got an axe or a maul, your handle, the wooden handles will start to break right below the head. And one way to help avoid that is to try to take a thin wire and wrap it around, starting at the head and wrap it back about 3 or 4 inches from the head back, so you have a wire coating on your handle. That helps protect your head from splintering up. It's quite effective. To clean aluminum pans, when they get dirty, you take green apples and you cut them up in pieces and boil it, and it will clean your pan up nice and shiny. It's the pectin in those apples. It pulls the dirt off the aluminum. That's another thing about green apples. You got to watch your milk animals, because if they eat a lot of green apples, they'll dry up. We had a cow that got green apples one year, and she ate a lot of them, and within 2 or 3 days, she dried up. So you keep that in mind when you feed your cow green apples. You might lose your milk production. It's an interesting way of drying an animal up, but it seems to work. On grindstones, when you have your for sharpening tools, they get coated with flakes of steel and dirt. You can remove all that coating by holding a piece of ice against the wheel and turning it slowly. It pulls all that dirt off the wheel. So any grindstones you got that are dirty, that's a way to clean them. They say before you paint galvanized metal or other metal as well, you can rub it with vinegar, and the paint will adhere to it more tightly. Now, another thing I've done a lot of times over the years, when I had rusty metal, I would take OSPH. It's OSPH. OSPH. And you spray that on the metal, and it kills the rust. It oxidizes it. It turns it a black or white color. And it is amazing. You can take a piece of metal that's rusty on one side, put OSPH on it, paint it, and that metal will last for years. And it's really a nice metal preservative when you do that. You can reuse old metal that looks bad on one side. The echo's on my end, so no issue on yours. I'm glad to see you guys here. There was if you got a crack in your wood stove, take a cup full of wood ash and mix it with salt, the same amount of salt as you have wood ash. Stir in enough water to make a stiff plaster, and put it into the metal, make a fire and bake it, and you'll have a repair job that if you don't bump it will last for a long time. So you can seal those cracks in your stove. I don't know if any of you ever had a leaking stove like that. I had a crack one time in my wood stove, and it would seep out smoke out of the crack just enough to turn the walls black over time. You wouldn't really notice it. It was just a slight smoke coming out all the time. And if I had known that, I could have fixed that. I just didn't know how to do it. So 10 pounds of unleached hardwood ashes contain the same amount of potassium as 10 pounds of inorganic fertilizer without the undesirable elements. And I was watching a thing of medieval times when they would make soap for their clothing. They would take and leach the ashes. Now, a lot of people say you got to use hardwood. There was an article I read that was showing that the softwood ashes have just as much or more potash than the hardwood, but because they burn at a hotter temperature, it gets burned off because the BTU, the heat of the fire vaporizes the potash in the softwood. That's why you lose a lot of your potash in softwood. So if you burn at a lower temperature, you'll be able to preserve more of that. So actually, if you can keep a fire burning not so hot that it actually burns the potash away, you can get a really good light out of softwoods too. It's just a matter of keeping the fire under a certain temperature, because the potash vaporizes at the temperature that most softwoods burn, so which is why there's less in it. Hey, Lee's Arkansas bound. Haven't seen you guys for a while. There's a spray that I've tried on for alfalfa and clover and grass to kill bugs. For weevils, you get these weevils on the grass or your seed heads. Take for 6 acres, 10 pounds of white sugar, half a gallon of basic H, and 125 gallons of water. That'll do 6 acres. So you go out and spray in the evening and not in the heat of the day, and that'll pretty much kill all your weevils and take care of the small soft-bodied insects. So it's sugar and basic H, and I suppose you could probably substitute the basic H with Dawn dish soap because they're quite similar. My phone. Okay, so Yeah, I'd like to get anybody out there who's got old English field peas. I'm trying to get a hold of some of them seeds. I'd like to grow some of them peas. They used to grow in the medieval ages for their animal feed. It was a type of field pea. It wasn't quite as sweet as the sweet peas today, but it sounds like they were quite good producers. The basis for ointment, it was saying lard is one of the best bases. We use lard for our ointment bases. You can put the leaves of the plant you want to get the properties out of into the lard, heat it up, and the vitamins and minerals will leach out into the lard, and then strain your leaves out, and you've got your salve. Right, and if you want a little harder, you add beeswax to it. So, and also for thickeners, you can use Irish moss or green apples. And to harden, use beeswax. Oh, I was looking at this. There was a recipe for the Black Death when the plague was going through. They made a vinegar that was supposedly kept the 4 thieves alive while they were taking people's gold out of their teeth. And the magistrate caught these thieves. He wanted to know the secret to their staying alive when the plague was killing everybody else around them. And they gave them this recipe on condition they can live. And it was 2 quarts of apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of lavender, 2 tablespoons of rosemary, 2 tablespoons of sage, 2 tablespoons of wormwood, 2 tablespoons of rue, 2 tablespoons of mint, and 2 tablespoons of garlic buds. And you can combine these herbs, except the garlic, and steep them in the vinegar for 2 weeks and strain. And then you add the garlic cloves to the mix. Add a little bit of paraffin wax around the lid and put in 4 ounces of glycerin or alcohol to preserve it. And you can take that as a little bit of it each day for sicknesses, and it's really healthy. It helps prevent and protect against the plague or any other sickness, I guess we'd say. And another one for antiseptic vinegar was to make a recipe with comfrey root, 8 ounces, oak bark, 4 ounces, marshmallow root, 4 ounces, mullein, 4 ounces, rosemary flowers, 4 ounces, and lavender flowers, 4 ounces, wormwood, black walnut. And that mixture was what they called, it used to be sold as 4 thieves herbal remedies. I don't know if you can get it anymore. I'd seen it when I was a young boy. That was what was in that one. And that also could be you want to steep each of those herbs for a half an hour and strain them, and then concentrate the mixture down from whatever you had you'd boil it down to a concentrated mixture, and add alcohol, glycerin to preserve it, and you could use that as another salve for. Okay, so for poison ivy, you can put jewelweed on poison ivy, or the touch-me-not. Some people call touch-me-not. It's the little flowers that when you touch the seed pods, they pop. Well, that is the best cure for poison ivy. Or you can use plantain. Plantain is also good for that. And I can tell you, when I was a boy, I found out a way to stop poison ivy from becoming a problem. I used to get it every year. I used to get it around July, and I usually have it till about frost, just itchy and all kinds of rash. And I found out that if you eat 3 leeks in the springtime when the plants are small, that you will actually be immune to poison ivy for that year. And it worked. And every year that I ate it, I wouldn't get it all year. So I had actually, one year I had skipped not eating it. And boy, did I get poison ivy that year. And there was times that I was walking through it, working on the sawmill, was on the logs, and I still didn't get it, as long as I'd eaten the poison ivy in the spring. Because we had At the sawmill I worked, there was a debarker unit. They would pull down, take the bark off the logs, and every once in a while when there was poison ivy on those logs, the juice would fly back on the log turners. And you'd break out in poison ivy pretty bad. But whenever I ate the poison ivy in the spring, I didn't have that problem. So I was one of the few workers that didn't get it if I ate the ivy in the spring. I used to hate school so much I'd rub it on myself. But I got immune to it. Oh boy. So you got immune to it. Yeah, that can happen. I know. You can get yourself immune to poison ivy. It doesn't hurt you. We have some stinging nettle here, but for some reason this year I can touch it. It doesn't sting me. I'm not really sure why. Could never figure that one out. It doesn't sting me this year. For measles, I guess a lot of people get measles these days, but if you get them, a tea of black wild cherry bark is good. Rue is good for stomach worms. And a tea made from balm of Gilead soaked in rum is good for sore ligaments. And another way, if you've got a cut, you've cut yourself and you're bleeding. Now, I like to use red pepper, and it's got to be fresh because I found out if you use old red pepper, it's not very effective. But if you cut yourself and you've got you're bleeding pretty bad, you stuff red pepper in that, it stops the blood. Like I said, it's got to be fresh. If it ain't fresh, it doesn't work very good. But another cure is stop bleeding, and it's very effective, is cobwebs. Just take a handful of spider webs and stuff them into the cut, and your bleeding will stop. I've done it myself before. I know it works. In a pinch, if it's the only thing you've got, just grab some good handfuls of cobwebs and stuff them in the wound, and it will stop bleeding. What's that? I didn't think. My wife said remove the spiders first, but I'm not sure if you were in a hurry to even look. I wrote a quote here from Thomas Jefferson, supposedly said that the biggest danger to agriculture and farmers and the related enterprise is not the weather, but dead. Banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies. Hey, Pete, how you doing? So in good years, it's a store away, and in poor years, be frugal. In all years, enjoy the harvest and try to stay free. But if you stay out of debt, that's a real good, goes a long way in helping people remain independent. Another quote, there was a little Amish newspaper that I used to get. It was called Plain Interest. And I haven't seen it for many years, but they have little quotes sometimes, and I'd write them down. This one says, when things go wrong, don't go with them. Now here, I just see a good way to get rid of potato bugs. And the sad part is about this, I've never seen the mayaples here in Michigan where we live here. It says, okay, dig wild mayaples, roots and all, and boil them enough water to cover them for 30 minutes. Set it aside to cool and strain, and spray on your potato plants on a warm day. It doesn't hurt the potato plants and kills all the potato bugs. Now, sadly, we don't have mayaples here. I know Missouri's got mayaples. I suppose the East Ross you guys do. I'm really not sure why we don't have mayaples here. Well, maybe it's too cold in Michigan. Yeah, we don't have sassafras. Oh, I have a quote here. It says, "A wasteful woman can throw out the window with a spoon as fast as a man can throw in the door with a shovel." My wife said she hates that quote. Well, it can be true, you know. And then another one says, "The straight and narrow way has the least accidental rate." Let's see. I'm trying to see if I got a lot more remedies in here, but I'm not sure which ones I should read off. What's that? Oh, I've got all kinds of them. I just don't know which one I should read. Okay, let's see. For bug killers, it's season time, so bug season. So it says, and this one is for peppers, cucumbers, and melons. For blight, I'm sorry, this is for blight, not bugs. You take 1 tablespoon of saltpeter. That's potassium nitrate. 1 tablespoon of ammonia. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. 1 gallon of water. And you mix this up, and you give 1 pint of this mix to each plant every 2 weeks. And that would protect peppers, cucumbers, and melons against blight. And for tomato blight, you put 1 tablespoon of sulfur in each hole before planting the tomato. Or mix equal parts of sulfur and lime and put 2 tablespoons around each plant. You can do this on peppers too, and it works good. Okay, so another bug remedy for killing bugs was 2 tablespoons of 35% peroxide, 1 cup of sugar to a gallon of water. And you spray directly on the fly traps. Boy, you know what? I wish I had a good fly trap remedy, and I don't. I should experiment more with that. We've had worse flies this year than I think we've had in about the last 5 years. I think it's probably because the doors stay open all the time. We have no screens on the windows, but okay, so another one for killing bugs is 1 tablespoon of Epsom salts, 1/2 teaspoon of ammonia, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Add a little basic H or basic H to 1 gallon of water. Spray that. That will kill about all most bugs. Oh, another one is for blight. 1/2 cup of rubbing alcohol. Mix it with a gallon of water. Mist lightly on infected plants. Now, I need to look into, in the Middle Ages, I saw they used tansy to keep flies out of the house. Tansy, yarrow, and wormwood. And possibly a few others, but I know tansy was one of them. But what they would do is they would lay tansy down on the floor, and then they would put these rush mats on top of it, so whenever they walked on the mat, the smell of the tansy would go up in the air, and it'd help keep the flies out of the house. Well, yeah, they made their own mats out of rushes. There's a fly on my phone. Hey. Fly just walked in front of the camera. Yeah, it'll come through a little bit. Okay, so checking if I got any more recipes. Molasses is good for killing fungus. So if you notice fungus in your garden, mix up a batch of this brew. 1/2 cup of molasses. Now, I tried this before, and it seemed to work pretty good. 1/2 cup of molasses, 1/2 cup of powdered milk or milk, and 1 tablespoon of baking soda. You mix that in 1 gallon of warm water, and let it set for several hours, and then strain the liquid. And what I did, I actually put it in a sock so it wouldn't go everywhere, get into the water so much. I let it soak, and then use this every 2 weeks. To the growing season, you'll have no more fungus troubles. A good slug, for slug bait, you can put little containers in the ground and take 1 can of beer, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of baker's yeast. Let it sit for a few days. Put the mixture in shallow pans and set the pans just at ground level so that the slugs can crawl into them and they'll drown. They smell that beer and they go for it. What's that? Yeah, slugs like alcohol. For cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower worms, you add a tablespoon of basic H to 60 ounces of water and spray in the evenings when the sun's down, or every 7-10 days until there's no more worms. That will kill all soft bite insects. And then for blight, on your squash, cucumbers, you can use 1 cup of chamomile tea, a tablespoon of dish soap, 1.5 tablespoon of vegetable oil, and 1/2 tablespoon of peppermint oil mixed in 1 gallon of water, and spray the plants every 2 weeks before it gets hot. And then for blight again, you can also use 2 tablespoons of baking soda in a gallon of water and spray that on. Epsom salts helps green plants up. Ammonia kills squash bugs if mixed in water and mites with a little bit of basic H in it. Let's see. I think I'm running out of recipes, but got a lot of other stuff in here. I'm just not sure what I want to. Yeah, this is an interesting thought. An opinion is something we pick up and carry around. And a conscious conviction is something that picks us up and carries us around. Yeah, so I feel like that's interesting thought. Another one, it says if we occasionally had to walk in other fellows' shoes, we probably would not criticize this gait. I think sometimes we have to be aware we don't we understand how others are going through in their lives. That's been my situation too. They are becoming hard to find in the area these days. I should have stopped months ago. The train going by right now. Train's been busy lately, it seems. I'm trying to see. This is a funny thought. Was what come on those Amish magazines again? Okay, so a bus station is where a train stops. Obviously, it's not the train. But a train station is where a train stops. On my desk, I have a workstation. Does that mean work stops? Not sure yet. Oh, just a little quote. So, I always think of in Genesis, God said to Adam, "In the sweat of thy face I shall eat thy bread, till I return to the ground from whence I was taken." And I've noticed that it seems like today a lot of people don't want to sweat anymore. I guess that was part of our lot. We should be willing to sweat and work hard. Boy, let's see. I've got so much, but some of the stuff's hard to lay out, and just you know, it says you can always recall moving an item to a safer place, but then you can't always recall where that place is. Have any of you ever had that problem before? Well, it's been that way for me sometimes. I know I put it somewhere, just can't remember where the place was. They sure do like bread, though. Yeah, I think flies like the smell of bread, don't they? Well, see, normally we were living in the other house. We didn't have a lot of flies, and I'm not sure it's because we did. Like this year, we've had more flies than we normally had, though. What's that? Remember my fly tape? I was getting new hair over there. Yeah. We did, but I was I've been trying to figure out where I could get hold of an oat hoeing machine. You know, and I was looking around online. I just can't seem to locate anything in the U.S. except they're really expensive. If you look on one of those, what's it called? What's that site called online? The one that has all the Chinese stuff on it. Alibaba. India and China had these hoeing machines. They weren't that expensive, but I've never seen one before. I'm not sure how good they are. If anybody knows anything about oat hoeing machines, let me know. I'd like to get a hold of one because I would really like to be able to make my own oatmeal. I have a field of oats growing, and I was hoping for it to get a good harvest and then try making my own oats because I've eaten oats every morning for breakfast for years. It's been one of the things I've done for years. Well, the sun's gone down enough. It's not shining straight in my face, so it's not down yet, but what are you doing? So has anybody got any questions? Tractor Supply. Well, I had tried making that yellow sticky paper before, and I never had that much luck with getting something sticky enough that it stayed on, that actually caught the flies. If anybody knows a good recipe for that, let me know. Because I would like to try to make my own sticky tape. I remember seeing when I was in Ohio in the dairy barns, they had these fly traps that were a V-shaped bag, or they were a bag with a V-shaped plastic piece. The flies would fly down and get stuck in them, and they could catch a lot of flies with them things. I suppose if I could figure out the right concoction to put in there to draw them in, you could bring a lot into it. I've been told Muscovy ducks eat a lot of flies, and if you have Muscovies, they keep the fly population down. We don't have any Muscovy ducks, and my problem with ducks is that I noticed whenever I did have ducks, they wanted to always eat everything they could get a hold of. They were quite hard on flowers and plants. Well, I guess goats are too, but goats don't eat flies. I think. My wife don't like Muscovy ducks, so.
See, we got banana peels for us.
Huh?
Seaweed, banana peels.
What?
Seaweed.
Oh, the goat ate banana peels. Yeah, I go through banana peels, I think. Say hi. Yeah, I was thinking if anybody is itching for some work, I want to try to get the house basements redone, so to say. I've got most of it torn off now, and I need to put new beams, lay some block, and get that thing boxed in. I want to make sure we have the basement ready before winter comes, so we have a storage spot. If we don't have the basement, it's going to be hard to store all our potatoes. I suspect the way it's going, last year we had 55 5-gallon buckets, and this year we've got more planted. So if we have the same amount we had last year, we're probably going to have more potatoes than we had last year. So we're going to need to make potato storage. I'm hoping I can get that basement done, or either that I'm going to have to build a root cellar. I told my wife I think it'd be actually easier for me to build the basement. That's to dig a hole and make a root cellar. But being that the basement's already there, it's just a matter of boxing it in. And surprisingly, we had potatoes in there, a few that actually made it even through the winter when it was open. So I think if it's closed up, it should stay warm enough not to freeze. 5 Muscovies. I could use some work, but it'd have to be during the weekend. Weekends. Yeah, I work on Sundays. I don't work on Saturdays. I take the day off on Saturdays and rest. And then Sunday I work.
Come up Saturday and camp out in pop-up camper.
Yeah, we've got a pop-up camper. If anybody wants to come visit, they can stay in that. It's got 2 beds, a little mini kitchen. Most of the people who come visiting would always make a little outdoor fire to cook on because the stove we had didn't have a hookup. So, oh yeah, we'll if you come to visit, we'll feed you. There's no reason to not feed you. Hey, would you please get the paper?
No vegans.
David, the paper, please. Yes, don't worry about that. My wife said we ain't vegans. I don't think you are either. No, I was just laughing because I used to take volunteers in from all over the world. Hey, could you give me more coffee, please? Okay. I used to take volunteers in from all over the world, and a lot of these travelers would be vegans. And I thought it was funny when I butcher sometimes. When they watch me butcher, they want to eat meat. So they were like, "Oh, that looks too."
Bissell coffee. Bissell.
Okay, got a little bit of coffee. You butcher a chicken, and then they wouldn't want to eat it. I was like, "Well, when you buy chicken in the store, it's the same." Oh no, they didn't have to look at it being butchered. They couldn't stand to eat it if they saw it butchered. It was like, I have to laugh about that. I've always wondered these city people who aren't used to butchering, they might have a little issue when it comes to eating their own food.
That might be the only time I become a vegan if I had to butcher my own food.
I know YouTube doesn't like it when you post anything about butchering. Because I tried before and usually it gets flagged. They don't monetize it. Yeah, so we got monetized. So far, we've made about a total of, well, it says we have about a total of $12. And the way it works on YouTube, if you don't make $100 in the period, you lose it. So hopefully in a 28-day period, we can get $100. And then what they do, that's taking their part off. And then they take off 24% for taxes. So out of $100, we would get $76, which would be a lot. I mean, for us, it would be a lot. So hopefully, we'll be able to reach that threshold, make a little bit of money someday.
Yeah, why have to buy a bunch of baby stuff now?
Yeah, for those who didn't know, my wife's pregnant. We're expecting February, I think. Another baby in February. Winter again.
I'm taking applications for midwives.
Beef stick tomatoes.
Alright,
Yeah.
I'm taking applications for
Well,
midwives.
that's all right. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, well, on the farm, the more kids you have, the better it is because that way you have more help when they grow up. Makes life more lively too. When I was growing up, I was the oldest of 8, and we had when I was 13 years old, and we moved to 5 acres from the city. Well, we didn't live in the city, but and after that, was on the farm, and I'll tell you, I'm sure glad that my parents moved to the farm when I was that age because it influenced the rest of my life.
It was only your path of instruction to the owner.
No, I think the best place for kids to grow up is where they can run around barefoot. I think it's funny when you go in the store and people get after me for being barefoot. And Usually have to put something on them because they're like, hey, you can't have the kids in here barefoot. I was thinking, well, if you saw all the things they run over on the farm, you wouldn't be too worried about it. But I guess it has to do with liabilities. They don't want to have someone get hurt and then come on them. I used to get my gas in the gas stations and then walk in barefoot. And they'd say, well, we can't serve you, sir. And I'd be like, well, you want me to pay for my gas or not? Oh, yeah, you can pay for your gas, but nothing else. I always enjoyed doing that. Going in barefoot somewhere, going in the bank or the store, barefoot and having people staring like, whoa. In Belize, I got my papers, my citizenship papers barefoot. Every time I went in barefoot, and they never said a thing about it. But I noticed in America, when you go in the store barefoot, they all look at you crooked. They act like it's illegal, but I don't think it's actually illegal in most places. But there's some places will say no shirt, no shoes, no service. That's a little different. But a lot of stores don't have any signs on the door. They can't actually stop. They try.
You do want less of the shoes. Tell them to look up minimalist shoes.
I don't want to wear them. That's like wearing gloves. I hate wearing gloves. My wife was saying minimalist shoes, but
They don't have separated toes. They're just a lot less material on the shoe. And
you just wear moccasins if you're going to do that.
I'd make them moccasins.
Yeah, the first thing I did when my grandpa was a deer hunter, and he used to tan all his hides from all the deer he got. And he gave me a deer hide. And the first thing I did was make a pair of moccasins out of them. My dad wasn't too happy because I didn't make them very good. It was my first project, I was 10 or 11 years old. And I made these moccasins and I try to wear them around in the stores. But it is funny how people get fired up about them bare feet. They just can't stand it, And I've always laughed too, because say, for example, you're in a store and a girl comes in with almost nothing on. They don't say nothing to her, but she's wearing flip-flops. And you walk in, you're all dressed with your shoes off, and they start complaining. And it's like, come on, guys. They act like you're breaking some kind of law to go barefoot. But I always enjoyed seeing people's reactions when you go barefooted somewhere. I've gone to the airports barefoot, and they've made me put my shoes on to get on the plane. But once I'm on the plane, I took them off. They can't do nothing once you're on the plane, but to get on the plane, you had to put your shoes back on. They wouldn't let you on the plane barefoot, which I thought was interesting. I tried a couple times to get on the plane without shoes, but they make you put them back on.
I just tore a hole open in the bottom of the oat bag.
Well, you should make sure he doesn't do that, please. Yeah, shoes. shoes not help sometimes. Now, when you're working on rough or dangerous places like a bunch of nails, I like to wear boots because it's not nice to step on a nail. And right now we've had so many nails in the board from the old house that I have to be careful not to step on nails when I'm working over there.
I've stepped on a nail with both feet now in the past 2 weeks.
Really?
Both my foot now have a nail hole.
That won't be that bad as long as it hurts your foot. Yeah, my wife's saying she stepped on a nail, but it didn't actually get her foot. She's okay. I think she'll live. Yeah, they say when you're writing all caps, you're yelling. I never quite agreed with that. There's been times I wrote in all caps. I wasn't yelling. I was just, I wanted people to see it, I guess. Hey, Sunshine Acres is here. Well, the sun's shining again in my face. It's dropped below the tree now. I got a maple tree that's, I'd say we got about an hour of daylight left here. Let's see what time is it right now. 8:50, so about 10 o'clock. I suppose it will start to get dark or darken up a bit. It's because I get to where I can't see when the sun shines in my eyes. I'll put my hat back. There we go. Oops. There. Gotta move this one. Yeah. Well, sorry for the disruption. I'm trying to block the sun out of my face so I can see the phone. All right. See it again. I was thinking if one of these days I want to go to the without shoes, just go somewhere. And when they ask me why I don't have shoes, I'll say, well, don't like them. See what they say. Boy, this sun is getting really. Yeah, my wife got me a new hat. Don't have a cover for this one. The brim's too. It's the lighter brim, so it my plastic cover don't fit it. Well, tails are growing fast. Yeah, this year I think it's about the same as it was last year. Horse laid down over there. You see it smash the potatoes down. You guys can't see. I'll try to tilt the phone so you can see a little better. Excuse me. All right. Yeah, so here's the garden. This garden's doing real well. I'll be able to keep it weeded this year. All right, sunlight is glaring in the phone. Sorry for the poor picture. Those are red potatoes there. The cabbage looks good. So far, we got one on it yet. I'm still feeding hay because our pasture's so low. And hey, if anybody wants baby cats, let me know. We got plenty of baby cats we need to give away. You can have this one right here. Gray and white cat. Something's going on over here. Let's see what all the noise is. Baby goats. What you guys doing? Hey, why are you harassing the goat for? Hey, got a goat stuck. Go get your dude on this. Stop on the goat, please. That's the little girl. That's the. I suspect she's gonna have her babies next. She's probably the next one coming. Huh? Say hi. Oh, you want to see the piggies? Yeah, they're getting pretty big. We need to get rid of them pigs. Butcher them. You ever seen that kind of beetle? That's the beetle that puts they eat the spruce trees and the pine trees. The grubs. So how's in your area the moth butterflies? When did you do? Those are Dixon's babies. Those are from Dixon. Those little ones. She'll probably the next one have babies. It was last week, I believe, we had the babies from the one. Yeah, this is the the other garden. I've been able to keep the weeds up, kept down this year a little better than I did last year. Got 3 rows of beets, potatoes, tobacco, lettuce, onions. And this was a fennel row that Anna went picking it one day. I think she picked most of it out. She picked about half the fennel crop. I think she liked the flavor of it. She was eating it. It looks like the garlic's getting ready to get the flower heads on it. I'd say we're gonna have to picking some of them pretty soon. This is a different kind of garlic here. I've got 3 kinds of garlic. Some of them get little bulbs, some of them get flowers. What are you doing with the baby, huh? Yeah, so eventually, if anybody needs a baby buck, we'll have that baby male Nigerian dwarf. He can we'll probably get rid of him. Which one? The one you saw, that was the female last, and the one jumping around, that was the boy. There he is. This is the little boy. She always favors him over the girl. She don't want to feed the girl. I got to hold her to get the girl to drink. Well, if anybody's got any questions, just ask. I don't know how blurry this picture is. Sometimes it seems like whenever I rewatch it again, it's kind of blurry. Can't see that good. I'll show you one more thing. I got the baby rabbits. Got 18 of them right now, I believe. They're growing pretty quickly. Let's see. There we go. I think this one's got 8 of them. And this one's got 10. No, I haven't milked them yet. I mean, I did a couple of years ago when we had the little babies. We were feeding the babies milk. I was feeding David. Well, it's been more than a couple of years ago. We used goat milk for David, and I milked the Nigerian ewe. They don't give a lot of milk. We get about half a pint from our one goat. And then the other goat we had, she gave about a quart. I don't have her anymore. She got a dog killed her. So you guys ever tried counting how many flies are on a fly tape? It's surprising how many are on there. The one time I counted, and there was over 100 flies in just a few inches of the tape. It's quite surprising how many flies can get stuck on a fly tape.
That's quite surprising. I've never seen it make a dent.
It does make a dent? Oh, I'm sure it does, somewhat. Well, my coffee's gone.
After you live stream.
My wife said, when my coffee's gone, my live stream's over. I hope you guys all have a nice evening and keep up the gardening and the farming.
Accepting phone calls. Bye-bye.
Oh, my. Oh, you're a funny lady. You guys all take care. See you next time.